Do you know, if sailing has a dark art, then it's got to be anchoring. It's been an interesting experience for me, but a little bit more about that later on. Now I'm in Barnstable Bay still. I spent quite a few days here actually, just spinning back and forth, going from one side of the bay to the next, trying to avoid the swell. You know, sometimes the swell was coming from the east and sometimes it was coming from the west. So I'd skip across the bay. It takes probably, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour to sail across the bay to get to the other side. Excellent cliff coverage, which I'll cover in the next video when about the storm. Got to be the best spot on the boat. Stark contrast from being here the other day. A little bit damper. It was a nice day. This is a lovely day. Just wish there was just a little bit more wind. This was very much about finding just comfortable anchorages, but as you can see here, it was an anchoring with some dynamic element to it. But you kind of get used to that after a while. Now, one thing I've discovered on the boat, among many things, is that fresh water is exceedingly precious. Now, I've got a 200-litre tank that it needs a real good clean out, to be honest. So I actually have a filter system I've got on board, a Berkey to drink from water. So when it comes to things like washing, personal hygiene, you're going to have to use the seawater. Yep. After 4 days living on a boat, not getting off it, it's time for a shower. Proper one, seawater style. Yeah, and getting used to the cold is one of those things, you know, this kind of, was it Wim Hof? The Iceman who teaches you how to get used to cold water. I mean, the water's not that cold. It's probably about, 12 degrees, 13, 14 degrees or something. But anyway, we move on. And the idea here is to sort of go and have a look at this place. This is a beautiful little village called Clovelly, which is a heritage village, a heritage fishing village. So I'm on the new anchor. I'm at 9 meters. We're sort of fairly high tide at the moment. There is about sort of 4-5 meters drop on the tide here, and I'm quite close to the green marker on the chart, which generally indicates drying out. But the wind is blowing me off, and it will do for the next 2 or 3 days. I'm quite surprised there's a lack of protection from the big cliff behind me. There is some. The wind is now running at 12 knots out there, where I was anchored just now is running at 18, 19, 20. But probably most importantly, actually the water is less disturbed here. So that's probably the biggest thing, so that's going to have less pull on the anchor. So yeah, a good spot. I'll be here for the next couple of days. And as you can see, within easy reach of Clovelly. I don't know. So I should be there again today, grabbing a coffee and doing some work on the computers and stuff. Got to get off the boat when I get the opportunity. So Thursday today, yeah, do the same tomorrow, Friday. Chill out, sunshine hopefully all day, so might get a bit of vitamin D today. And 2 days from now, But this time, I'll be sailing to Wales, hopefully, as long as there's no major changes in the weather. For the worse, that is. So here's the thing. Now you're watching. I've done I went through a tour of the village, so you can see some images from here. At some stage, once I finished all this tour and I've gone up through the village and done my little touristy thing, I went down to the pub, which is just to the left of this point here. Grabbed a beer and sat inside and started working on the computer. And every now and again, I'd look out the window, look at my boat, and in particular, I was watching the tide. As it gradually, you see it's already dried out in the harbour itself, but it goes a lot further than that because there's a huge runoff on this tide. I'm looking at the tide edge, or the water's edge, and it's getting closer and closer and closer to my boat. And the boat is rocking around back and forth. You can probably see it a little bit moving around in that image there. It's rocked around a lot more than that, and I'm starting to think, oh crap. So I make my way back to the boat with a sense of urgency, and I immediately hear this going off. Thinking, oh, I did not need this boat to bottom out. And the whole process was about me just trying to rescue the boat, get the dinghy tied up. I lost an oar because of that, because it got turned. I didn't tie the oars back down properly, and I made my escape. So at the moment there's a beast of a storm coming in on Saturday night. Probably looking at about 35, 36, 37 knots of wind, and it's coming straight across Ilfracombe Bay and over to Pembroke, which is ultimately where I want to go. So there is no there are no marinas here in this area within sort of a day's sail as of now, and I only do day sailing, remember. So I've got to find an anchorage. I think I found one further along the coast east. I'll show you on a map. And it seems quite sheltered. There'll be no rolling waves coming in, so it should be quite settled. And I think there's enough cliff protection against the wind buffeting the boat. And being further east is going to be less intense. You may get a little bit of high wind, but it shouldn't last too long. Rather than being here in Clovelly, which is going to be hit by sort of 34, 35 gusts. Sorry, not gusts, I'd say 34, 35 average for a number of hours. And even with the cliffs, I'm not too sure, because often you get the swell coming across the bay. So that will add to the rocking of the boat and disturb the anchor. So I already had one exciting moment this morning when I had the alarms go off when I got on board. Spring tide tomorrow, which would explain why it dropped 8 meters. Fucking hell. Anchoring such a lark, isn't it? Oh, you discover something new every day. Well, good morning. It's 7 o'clock and I'm in Bideford Bay, also known as Barnstable Bay, and I got a 24 nautical mile journey just to find an anchorage for tomorrow, which is stormy. Depends which weather forecast you look at. If you look at the UKMO, you're looking at 34, 35 knots of wind. So I think I've found an anchorage which looks reasonably protected for they're kind of southerlies. So yes, it's southerly winds that will be coming through, brutal, and then southwesterlies. So just to hide out on Saturday. So it's Friday, August 18th or something. As you can see, it's in the height of the balmy British summer, and I've just taken my time today, leisurely sail, no engine. See if I can make it all the way. I've got good power in the batteries, so there's no problems. And yeah, just ticking along. It's 11 knots, gusts of up to 17 sometimes. The wind is off my starboard stern, and I'm doing about 2.5 knots, 3 knots of speed, depends. So pretty leisurely, pretty chilled. I'll show you the sails in a second, but it's all good. Yeah, it's hopefully Sunday I'll finally get to Wales. And there's this one particular spot in Pembrokeshire that I want to go and anchor at. Beautiful little cove, and that's probably not going to be my first port of call. It's probably a little bit too far. That's probably about 50 to 60 nautical miles. It's too long for me in a day. For me anyway. Others can do it, but not me. Well, could I do it? I probably could do it, but I think it'd be tiring because it's just such a manual boat. And I reckon by the end of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, I'll be at the Isle of Man. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know whether I'm going to rent a motorbike and go for a ride around the circuit or not. It's going to be there when I get there. Actually, it's probably going to be the GP, the Isle of Man GP. So I probably won't be able to rent a bike and ride around the circuit unless I'm doing about 150 mile an hour. Or no, probably 200 mile an hour. So anyway, yeah.